Hi everyone, my name is Udit. This video contains the top 3 mistakes that engineering managers at Google feel candidates make in their interviews. This is information that has been submitted by engineering managers who take mock interviews on Prepfully, and these are the mistakes that they've seen candidates make on a regular basis, and they've collated this into this video that we're now sharing with you. So if you're interviewing for an EM or an SDM role at Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, Uber, Apple, pretty much any company that hires for engineering managers, this video is going to be relevant for you. Quick introduction, I'm from Prepfully. We help you with your interview preparation so that you can get the job that you're looking for. We've got resume reviews, interview guides and question banks so that you can start putting together some structure into your preparation strategy. We've got free practice with other candidates, and we also give you the option to practice with interview coaches from Google, Amazon and the like. They also give advice if there's specific topics that you want to look at, and they can give you very, very targeted feedback on where you need to improve, but also what your interview readiness looks like. Good then, the 3 mistakes. Mistake number 1, underestimating the interviewer and overestimating yourself. What does this mean? A lot of candidates assume that A, they can bluff, or B, their interviewer might not know what they're talking about. This is nearly always wrong for a couple of reasons. A, your interviewer has likely taken, for that particular company, they've definitely taken more interviews than you have, which means they have kind of seen there and done that across pretty much most situations, be it candidates trying to come up with stories on the fly, candidates claiming achievements that weren't necessarily theirs, or claiming maybe a little bit too much credit for something they might have done, like, hey, I managed a $16 billion initiative all by myself, or I led a team of 200 people where actually you manage 3 people and then they influence a lot of others. So TLDR, don't bluff. Your interviewer knows what bullshit looks like. It's not a good idea to experiment with this in an interview. Rely on the truth, rely on your true achievements. You're going to have a huge list of these. We'd recommend pulling from those and building those into real, honest narratives. And by the way, it's totally okay to say, hey, yeah, I haven't faced exactly this situation in the past, or yeah, this is a situation I faced. It didn't work out quite as well, but here's what I learned from it. Because your interviewer is not on a truth-finding mission. They're on a people fit mission where they're trying to understand, can you fit into Google or all these companies they're interviewing you for? And can you succeed in an atmosphere of reasonably high stress? And can you succeed in an atmosphere where excellence is basically a mandatory expectation from everyone? Tip number 2, and this is very, very relevant for EM roles which have a technical expectation, which these days most EM roles do realistically, is when it comes to the technical interview, your interviewer is not going to be okay with just the basics, right? So they're not going to be happy with you putting up a set of box diagrams and running your interview through it. They're going to want to understand what trade-offs you're making, what you're prioritizing, what the pros and cons are, because ultimately you're going to be leading a team of very, very technical people, and all these companies expect you to be able to hold your own, and not just hold your own, but guide the team through architectural and challenging discussions at scale, right? So why is this a common mistake? Because a lot of firms don't expect this from their engineering managers, and when candidates end up interviewing at Google or Amazon and the like, they get thrown for a loop in their technical interview or their systems design interview, or in the case of Meta, sometimes it's even ML systems design or technical judgment at Google and so on. It's really, really important that you demonstrate competence for this to the same depth that a senior or staff level candidate would be able to demonstrate. In fact, these interviews are often taken by staff level or beyond, exactly to assess if you can operate at that level. Third and final mistake is not being prepared enough with their stories. And this kind of ties into the overestimating your own abilities point that I made earlier. But this is actually really specific with regards to even preparation that's often done, especially for behavioral rounds, often falls below the mark. And in which ways? People often assume that they can come up with stories on the fly, and ultimately all of us have a vast set of experiences that we're going to pull upon for this interview, but it's really important to be able to frame them in the right way so that your interviewer gets that key message, but B, also frame it in the most concise possible way, because at the end of the day you have 45 minutes in which to communicate a vast amount of information, and if you haven't practiced the most effective, efficient way to phrase that, you're going to be caught out for a loop in the interview, because let's face it, a lot of the other candidates who are interviewing will have prepared an put in that effort. So what's the consequence of making this mistake? You can come off as vague, you can come off as superficial, you can also come off as bluffing, honestly, or making things up on the spot. And those are things that you can easily avoid by just investing into that preparation upfront. So what is their guidance in this context? According to them, sit down and write not just the stories that you want to talk about or the examples you want to deliver, but mark out which keywords within those you want your interviewer to walk away with and what messages you want them to take away from their interview so that they remember that, hey, this story showed me X, Y, and Z about this particular person, right? And you can repurpose one story across 4 or 5 different themes in an interview, and that's totally okay. But map those out for yourself and make sure that you articulate those sentences in the most effective way possible so that your interviewer can get those messages. B, practice. Practice with yourself. Just record yourself if necessary and see if you're just being very verbose or not framing things correctly or not providing sufficient context or whatever it might be. Verbalize it to colleagues or friends and ask them, did you walk away with the message I was trying to communicate? What did you get from this? I was trying to communicate that I'm effective at dealing with situations of delivering bad news to people I'm managing. Did that come through? I was trying to demonstrate how quickly I learn from mistakes I might make and how quickly I can adapt to situations even when they aren't an exact situation, when they aren't an exact match to what I might have faced in the past. Did you kind of get that from my message? Get their feedback, get their thoughts on, did they actually interpret it quite that way, or did they focus on a tangent or something you might have hinted at which then caught their attention and retained their focus while you went on with your answer. And thirdly and finally, practice with professionals. So Prepfully is one source of this. There are 100 out there on the internet where you can practice with Google EMs or Amazon EMs or Twitter EMs, and the list is endless, right? So figure out what those people are looking for, do a mock interview with them, get their advice, get targeted feedback on where the gaps are in your preparation, and then make sure that you plug those gaps within those stories. So it's always important to close that feedback loop. Good, then that's all from the engineering managers at Google who submitted this feedback to us. Keep in mind that this is not official Google input. This is all based on observations from candidates that these EMs have been helping. So as always, take that into account. I hope you found this useful. I hope you give us a shot at some point. If you did find this helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that's all from us at Prepfully.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Our website is prepfully.com. We've got lots of interview questions there. You can also schedule a mock interview with one of our experts. You can find the link in the description below. All the best from us at Prepfully, and we hope you totally rock your interview.